Jeff Jacobs, Jeffjacobs.
How long have you been with Houston Fire?
22 years now.
How many parades have you been in?
This will be 3. 3?
3?
Yes.
The other 2 were?
In Acres Homes. We used to do a parade up there. It was a little bit smaller, I would say.
Okay, how did you all get picked?
It was sheer luck. I've had a lot of people call me and ask me what I did to be selected for this. It was luck. They called, they wanted to use our truck, and thankfully I was on duty.
How much of a heads up did you guys get?
24 hours or less.
So you roll up with this nice and clean ladder truck, tower truck. What do I call it?
It's a tower.
Just making sure.
Yeah, you're fine.
And at what point did you realize all of these all-star athletes were going to be riding at the very top?
We knew early, actually, in the day. When we were 24 hours out, we already knew that if you were selected as one of the fire trucks, that you would have someone on your truck. I spoke with someone in public information. They told me we would be the only tower, which gave me a pretty good idea that we'd have the trophy and we'd be right up in the front of everything. And it took about 14 people and the shift before working to clean this truck, to get it detailed out. We got up about 8:30 the next morning to the shop downtown. They changed out the batteries because the truck would barely start. Thankfully, we got that corrected. We waxed it down there. It took a lot of people to get walk boards put in place so that people wouldn't trip over the rungs of the aerial ladder. It took a lot of work, and every single person that came out, you could just see a sense of pride, and they knew what was about to happen with the truck, and they just felt like a sense that they were a part of it too, and it's a pretty humbling experience.
The crowd was expected, but I don't think anyone prepared for that many people. Tell me what it was like logistically trying to get this beast downtown through all those people just to get there.
Well, we'd had a pretty good heads up of a few things. Chief Kibler, Chief Dunn really, gave us a good briefing, told us a few things to what to expect. And we were expecting people on the sidewalks. We weren't expecting the PD was going to continually have to part the Red Sea and push crowd away. It was pretty amazing. Jason Dennis, my driver, did a fabulous job leading the way. This is the biggest truck in the city as far as ladder trucks go. It's longer and bigger than anything we own in the city. Very difficult to maneuver. He did a fabulous job.
Okay, so you got you right up top.
Yes.
If I'm going to look through the video, you'll be next to who?
Carlos Correa's fiance. That was, well, I'm actually up there with Dallas Keuchel and Alex Bregman too, and they held the trophy through quite a bit of it, so it was pretty amazing to be up there and be a part of that. And at one point, actually Dallas Keuchel held the trophy up over his head and almost hit a traffic signal as we're driving underneath it. So thankfully I'm grabbing him by the shirt, telling him, get down, get down, get down, and we managed to save the trophy, and thankfully one of our ace pitchers. But
thankfully.
Yes.
And then everybody was so concerned that Jose Altuve wasn't there. For a second I thought I missed him just for his size. I thought maybe he had blended in. But he was running late. He ended up on some random vehicle.
No, he stopped a few minutes beforehand, pulled up on location with us, rolled down his window, and asked me, how do I get the Minute Maid? Well, I had already had one of my Houston Fire hats ready, brand new clean one, perfect, ready to go, and I handed it to him and said, here, wear this. He took one look at it, put it on his head, and I told him, go that way. He took off with a police escort to Minute Maid, and they took off running.
What did you give him the cap for, like, to get through the crowd, to be incognito? What did you
I was hoping he'd wear it during the parade, but... Well, actually, I got a picture yesterday, and somebody showed me he was wearing it, so it was kind of neat. But
I mean, let's talk a little bit about that trophy. I was at the beginning of the parade route. George Springer clearly had a good grip on it, but the entire time he was right up at this ledge, on the edge, and I'm thinking, one, the driver's got to be nervous as hell. These are the most expensive people who have ever been on the truck. And then two, the slightest thing could have that trophy going in any direction. Tell me a little bit about how your nerves were.
We weren't really that nervous about that, honestly. I think we were going slow enough that for the most part everything would have been fine, even if there would have been a slight bobble. But it was mainly for us. We were just worried about safety up and down the sides, making sure everybody stayed in the ladders, making sure we didn't have anybody getting a little too silly up there, and fall off. Anytime you've got VIPs like that, it's obviously serious business, but the fire chief told us, have fun with this. And that felt nice for a change, to really realize that he trusted us to be professional, but still we could smile, we could laugh a little bit, let our guard down just enough to enjoy it too, and it felt great.
What was the crowd like?
Deafening. It literally, for 15 to 20 minutes after the parade, you felt like you couldn't hear anything. It was really loud, and I couldn't put a decibel number on it, but it was crazy. And then whenever George Springer would hold the trophy up, the MVP chants, it felt like your ears were literally probably going to bleed or burst. It was that loud. I've never heard anything like it in my life.
We've seen all of these incredible pictures of people basically hanging out of parking garages, on pillars, the people who got arrested for standing on top of HPD units. When you were up there moving, could you tell, Captain, just how high the crowd really was?
No, actually you really couldn't. We saw some very interesting things. We did see a lot. One of the parking garages people could not see out of, so literally they were just sticking their arms out of little small holes with a camera just to get a picture of this driving by. People in the streets were crying and literally just screaming, just wanting a tiny piece of seeing what was driving by. When we drive by people that couldn't be there, you'd watch way out in the crowd. They would be running to try to get up near anywhere they could and pushing forward just to be close to that trophy and to see their heroes. It was pretty spectacular to be a part of that.
I cried. Did you?
No, honestly, I didn't. Probably could have at one point. It was pretty surreal, but baseball fan and a Houston Astros fan my entire life, so this was probably one of the neatest experiences I could imagine.
How old are you?
Really?
You're not a woman.
46.
46. And so it's like twofold. It's you're celebrating the Astros, and also to everybody. I mean, the story really of Houston is like coming back stronger than ever, just a couple months. Tell me a little bit about what it was like working at this station 10 weeks ago.
We were probably one of the harder hit areas, and the D shift that work here, they did a phenomenal job. Some of them did not go home for 4 and 5 days. They were here and literally on duty. Our territory was cut in half with the bayou, and there was days we just could not respond to calls. We couldn't even make it to those calls. We had to work with other agencies using boats to get there. It was very difficult to make it happen. Sometimes a call that was 1 mile away for us, we'd have to go almost 17 miles out of the way to try to see if we could even get back in there to help the people.
Because to remind people, it's hard to remember with traffic buzzing by, but this was the stretch of the Beltway that was flooded out for
Oh, absolutely.
several weeks.
Yes, ma'am. It was completely shut. There was it was almost ghostly because you'd look out on the Beltway and there was no traffic. There was no hum of cars, and it's what we know and expect every day. There was nothing. The street directly in front of our fire station, they had blocked it in half, basically with barricades, and they were running 2 directions because it was the only way to get back to Deerwood and the apartments and some of the people who live in behind us.
So that going back and pivoting to this parade, I just told Harris County's emergency management crew, because they were out there with the Metro trucks. I said it a bazillion times to Houston police yesterday. This parade was just as much as it was for the Astros as it was for first responders. Did you feel that way?
Honestly, I didn't really treat it that way. To me, it was about the boys. They played so hard, they played well, and I wanted it to be for them, but just being involved in it and feeling that sense, you know, Houston's always been so strong and always been able to be, you know, where they could bounce back and be very resilient. So being a part of that and just being up there and witnessing that was probably more amazing than I could imagine.
How long do you think the entire parade was for you guys? An hour?
A little over an hour, probably about an hour and 15 minutes.
And what were the players saying as they as you all just kept moving through the crowd?
Well, if I can quote Alex Bregman, this is exhausting. I think he was loving every second of it. He was probably the most hyped up guy I can imagine on that apparatus, and he was enjoying every second of it. But you could just see that, you know, with all the running around, with the interviews and everybody wanting a little small piece of what their, you know, achievement was, I think they were feeling a little bit tired at the time.
Did any of the guys say anything to you or any of your firefighters?
It was pretty casual. I mean, it might be a little occasional. I think for the most part, we were thanking them for what they had done.
No references to hot bats and needing to put that out?
I'm sorry?
No references to these hot bats?
No. There was no jokes. Maybe a small, occasional little silly joke about something, but no, it was very nonchalant, and everybody just enjoyed it. And think for the most part we, let them just soak it all in. We weren't trying to be up there just constantly, looking for interviews and looking for autographs and looking for pictures with them. We wanted them to enjoy it and wanted it to be about them.
What is one thing you wish you did that you didn't? Or is a moment you wish you captured that you didn't, like looking back on it now you're like?
A better picture probably holding the World Series trophy. I think that would have been pretty nice, but I got to speak to some of the players. I got to shake hands and do things that I think a lot of people will never have the opportunity to do. So I don't have any regrets about the experience. It was amazing.
Is it heavy, the trophy?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, I would imagine it being a little heavier than it probably is, but it wasn't that bad.
And then tell me about these photos that you're so kind enough to share with us. What are we going to see in some of these photos you took?
An occasional selfie, several videos of just how insane it was to be up there on that truck from our perspective where we stood on there. There was a lot of good camera work, and almost all the camera work was from ours. MLB.com, the Chronicle, everybody was on our truck, and that's where all the video feed came from for the majority of it because the trophy was on the truck. So whatever you could see there is a lot of what we were feeling, and it was amazing.
One of my last questions for you, Captain,
Sure.
is that gutsy Sports Illustrated writer who called it back in 2014. Later that night on Wednesday, called in and said we're going to win the World Series again next year. Are you ready?
I have one word for AJ Hinch: make it happen, buddy, because I want to do this again. I wouldn't be ready tomorrow because it's such an exhausting experience, but yeah, I'll be ready in a year. I'd love to do it again.
Anybody talking smack about Tower 69 and how lucky you guys are?
I had a lot of people.
Was anybody trying to get in to pick up a ship yesterday?
A lot of people were offering to ride for me. I got a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages. Hey, I'll ride for you today, and I'll trade you a day, or I wasn't going to pass this up. Not for anything in the world.